Today on Screen It to Stream It, there are games afoot.
Well received by critics and audiences alike, Game Night is a comedic, suspenseful mystery that is rated R for language, sexual references, and some violence.
It is a story of a couple, Max and Annie, that fall in love over their shared passion for games.
They marry, host game nights with their friends, and aside to the main story, they are considering having kids.
Things get a little bumpy when the creepy next door neighbor keeps trying to show up for game night, and Max's ultra-successful brother comes into town.
Max has never beat his brother at a game, and so feels very threatened by his arrival.
The brother insists that they have the next game night at his house, and then he hosts a murder mystery adventure complete with actors and clues.
Things go totally wrong when a pair of real kidnappers break into the party and kidnap Max's brother.
This causes a great deal of confusion as all of our heroes go on a quest to solve the fake murder mystery, not realizing they're actually investigating a real-life kidnapping.
It's got a lot of crazy twists and turns. What are we going to rate this one?
All right, we're going to give it 3 stars.
So, definitely a lot of twists and turns. I think this one earned every star for sure. The effects were good, the few that they had. Nothing really jumped out as CGI, and you know we harp on that.
No, not really an effects heavy.
No, not really.
No need for it.
But the few they had were great. They looked perfect, so it was very nice, very nicely done. In fact, they even had a guy jump out of a car at one point, which was awesome. They don't do that in movies enough anymore. And when they do, they do CGI. No, they had a guy jump out of a car. It was beautiful. So, what were your thoughts on this one?
So, I thought this was a good movie. Again, it's just, to me, it falls a little bit short of a great movie.
Yeah.
But it was a comedy. And one of the things we always say is the mark of a comedy, no matter anything else that happens, if it's full of bad CGI, if it's a terrible story, if it makes you laugh, that's its purpose, and it still can be a good movie, or at least a fun movie.
Yep.
And this one made me laugh.
Me too.
There was actually one scene, and it's in the trailer. The wife shoots the husband on accident. She drops a gun and shoots him in the arm. And there's this scene outside a convenience store where she's trying to patch him up.
Yeah.
And I laughed and laughed and laughed. And it was one of those where I was laughing so hard at one point I couldn't hear I just couldn't even hear but a portion of what was going on because of my laughing. And I don't really seem to get that anymore in movies. There's a lot of little,
Not
but
often.
that was really, really funny. There were lots of little funny moments throughout. I think the only reason I didn't go 4 stars for this one was just because the story was okay. It was fairly interesting, but wasn't groundbreaking or super interesting.
Yeah, we've seen similar things before.
Yeah, we've seen it before. And also, while the laughs were funny, and there were definitely more hits than there were misses as far as the comedic elements, there was just not quite enough of them for me to give it 4 stars. Like, it wasn't a constant barrage of laughing. It was like, oh, that was really funny, and then there would be a few minutes of, we're progressing the story, what's going on here, trying to figure out the mystery. Because like you said, the main gist of the story is the brother is kidnapped, but they don't even know it. They think it's part of this game that they're playing. And so, of course, it's also a comedy of errors. Stuff goes wrong constantly for everybody. And there's these couples. There's 2 married couples and then a man and woman who are kind of, sort of, not really, maybe dating.
They were such a wonderful pair because he's the type that shows up at every game night with a different chick, and I use that word specifically. He was bringing hot chicks that usually were not that bright, but they looked good, and he was not that bright either. But this one game night, he had brought an actual intelligent, classy British chick. Well, she wasn't really a chick. A lady. She was a lady. And that dynamic was hilarious to me because their miscommunications because he was an idiot was just really funny.
Which that was kind of a nice, because basically he's the blonde bimbo,
right?
Like dumb blonde, but it was a guy instead of a girl.
I didn't even notice
and then the girl was really smart.
And it played perfect. It was brilliant.
And he basically just brought her because
he wanted
he would win.
He wanted to win.
But so you basically got those couples, and the brother gets kidnapped, but they think it's part of a show, a game that they're playing.
So they're all trying to win, and of course cheating because they all want to win.
So they separate up into they're little couples, and they all go out and try to solve this mystery. And then again, because it's not really the mystery they're trying to solve, all kinds of stuff goes wrong. And they,
Yep.
it's, like I said, it's been done before. We've seen things like this. A lot of the comedic things were jokes and rehashes. Oh, they've done it before, but they were done really well.
Yeah.
I thought the cast was really good. They did a good job with the casting.
I love Jason Bateman. He can be in almost anything, and I will watch it just because I like him. I like watching him work.
No, I cannot think of the girl, the wife.
The lady's name?
Yeah, she's really famous.
Oh, shoot. I have forgotten. I'm sorry.
But anyway, so we'll call them Max and Annie.
Come back to me in a bit.
Their character names. But so Max and Annie are just super likable, and it kind of the game night and everything revolves around how likable they are.
They're adorable.
But they're just really sweet, really friendly people, and that was really nice for a change. Mm-hmm. Their only problem was they were trying to have a baby, couldn't have a baby, and that was causing a little bit of conflict between them. But
it was reasonable tension. Like they weren't overreacting about it to each other. They were still sweet to each other, and it was nice.
It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like something they just threw in there to be in there. It fit with the story. There, like I said, a lot of great moments. The next door neighbor is a police officer, and he's
just so weird.
He's the ex-husband of one of the friends.
Right. So he had been to game nights previously with his wife, and then of course they divorced, and that's why they don't. He was the creepy husband that they didn't really want. They just liked his wife. So that's that relationship.
But he still wants to come over.
Right, because he enjoyed it.
But he's just super awkward and
so
super
weird.
creepy. And of course, you get a lot of comedic elements from just how weird and how creepy he is.
He just kind of stands there and speaks with an unnatural cadence.
Well, and then you've got the dumb guy and the smart girlfriend, so you get natural problems there. And then the other couple they're going through some like relationship things, and they're fussing and fighting the entire time, and so you get some stuff there.
Mostly getting along, but they had a tiff that started and kept going throughout the whole movie, which was great.
So you end up with some natural conflicts there that create problems and create some comedy, and then the story itself, the whole we're hunting down the brother, and they all try to cheat. Each one of them tries to cheat in a different way and win rather than following the clues, which is a good thing because the clues were set up for the game that doesn't really exist anymore.
Right, it ended up working out really well. So,
and there were lots of little not cameos, but there were lots of little bit parts in the show that were people I have seen in other, like not super famous, like Tom Cruise doesn't come out at some point and do something, but one of the guys was Arnold from Westworld.
Oh yeah.
He came out and I was like, man, that guy looks. Oh, it's Arnold from Westworld.
And of course, and I can't remember anybody's name from Dexter. The lead from Dexter was in the show. He showed up at one point, like, oh hey.
But there was lots of little, people would pop up like that and be like, hey, that looks familiar. Oh, he's from this or that or the other. And so that was a nice little inclusion.
And none of them were jarring, but they did their thing, but I don't know, it was just neat to see them, that recognition, I guess. It was fun.
And we like to tear apart things when, stuff is stupid and it doesn't make sense.
One thing came to mind.
So, mine is kind of racy and kind of stupid, so tell them yours and then I'll...
Okay, so mine, the part where the wife accidentally shoots the husband it was a revolver, which if anybody knows about firearms, revolvers have a cylinder inside, and every time you pull the trigger, if it's a double action revolver, it turns the cylinder and then drops the hammer on the next bullet, the next casing. So she fired the gun once by accident and then dropped it, and then it went off again, which is impossible because when you fire it the first time, it's still on the spent chamber. But anyway, it was such a funny thing that happened. It was about 10 minutes later I realized, hey, wait a second. So just go with it. The movie's not to be taken physics literally seriously, and so just give them the few things that they ask you to believe because it's well worth the ride. They were funny.
Well, and that's where I was going to go to. A lot of times we pick apart things like that. So you're watching a sci-fi movie and they're trying to tech the tech.
Oh, that makes
me mad. And when they tech the tech and it's wrong, that's just, it's jarring and it takes you out of the movie. But it's a comedy movie, so you just got to roll with it. So I understand that, and I've got two actually, and they're little nitpicky things.
Do tell. I've got my hipster glasses.
But at one point, they're in a Corvette, like a '78, I believe, Stingray Corvette.
Beautiful.
which are all fiberglass body cars, and they're ramming things with it, and the car is taking. I am glad they gave it a little bit of damage, but man, that thing took a minuscule amount of damage for ramming.
For what they did, it was.
And it's like, oh, so that's again, comedy movie, perfectly fine with that. All right, so my other big complaint, and this is so dumb, but you got to forgive me because I'm gonna climb up. I need a soapbox and complain about this. So the whole the movie is called Game Night. And it is about a game. Well, it's, I guess, really more about the gamers. There's this group of friends that get together every, I guess it's Friday night, Saturday night, something like that. But once a week.
Yeah, I don't think they said, but once a week.
They get together and play games. And the brother shows up out of nowhere. He's been off in Europe doing something. He's very wealthy and successful, and they all kind of envy him a little bit and look up to him. And he shows up and does a murder mystery, which sets things, off on the path that it does. But these are supposed to be gamers, right? They're board gamers, not video gamers, board gamers. And about 10 years ago, we had a board game renaissance. And these are people that play board games every single night or every single week. And Max and Annie actually meet playing like a trivia challenge at a bar. And I mean, they play games constantly. So that was one of the things. If they're sitting still for 3 minutes, they're playing tic-tac-toe. They're playing something. And they had some of the worst selection of board games I have ever seen. And not just they don't have a lot of board games, which apparently they don't. But all they had was those generic Walmart generic's the wrong term. They're name brand, but it has the. They had Scrabble and
People
Clue.
love Scrabble.
No, but they're really terrible board games. And there is a whole culture of board gamers and board games. And like I said, we went through a renaissance a few years ago, and there are some absolutely amazing board games out there that are not those. And I just wish they had asked somebody and taken 5 minutes to put some cool board games in there. For me, that would have been a neat thing to see, Shadows over Camelot or Pandemic.
Love Shadows over
Or if you
Camelot.
want to go new, go Gloomhaven or something that's really big and cool and popular right now. And that would have been neat. Because one of the things that the movie did really well, and it made me really happy, was they also quote the Max and Annie quote movies.
Yes.
Popular movies throughout the entire thing. There's a great Pulp Fiction line, and it made me laugh so hard when I saw it. But that was so cool that they fit those pop culture movie references in there, and that made the movie just a little bit better for me. And I would have felt the same way about the board games if they had snuck. And it's not like it's
They could have just got one in there, and that would have been.
Well, and it's not a hidden secret. If you turn on any nerdy Big Bang Theory or something like that, they're always playing. Settlers of Catan, or they have
That was a lot of fun.
They have some of these board games in there, so it's a known thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just kind of bugged me. To go along with it, there's a scene. She shows up, so they don't know it's a murder mystery.
Right.
He just tells them it's the greatest game night of your life. Y'all show up. And so they show up with a stack of board games, and they're, like I said, it's Scrabble and...
The usual suspects.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the brother takes them and just chunks them. And you hear them crash.
Yeah.
And if you've ever dropped a board game, it's another, 20 minutes to pick up all
the pieces.
And he throws them, viciously throws them. And in 5 seconds, she's back with all the boxes and how dare you make me pick all that up? And I was like, wait a minute, no, it's just, I don't know. So that didn't sit well. But again, that's nitpicky, and it is a comedy, and he threw the boxes for comedic effect. So that was perfectly fine.
I don't disagree with you, but I can see why at least mostly they stuck to very well-known games.
I know.
And just for the sake of the audience, who probably may not be as much into gaming, but no, they should have snuck a couple of them in there. I'll agree with you on that one.
There were some really neat callbacks in the movie too. They would make a reference, mega reference, and then it would show up, or it would come back and be made again. So that, I thought that was neat, and there's a good way to kind of tie everything together. They didn't. The story was, I don't know, it was a very medium movie. It's been well received. People really seem to like it, although not a lot of people seem to be going and watching it. I don't know if the R rating deters people, but it really hasn't seemed to be doing that here recently, especially with comedies.
Yeah.
But it's just It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's a funny movie. And to me, this would be... I would almost have a hard time telling you, oh, you have to go to the theaters and see this thing.
I agree. I would say think about going to see it if you're up for something fun, but it's not a must-see in theaters, for sure.
Or if you're like us and we go to so many movies, we look down the list and like, oh, I've seen all that. Well, we got like 3 of them. Which one do we go to? Oh, let's try this one.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy it. I had a good time. But to me, where this movie would really shine would to be, have a group of friends over to your house, have it on the TV, some snacks, where you can all laugh together and really have a good time. Now, we went really early and we went to one of those showings and there was maybe, if you don't count our group,
2 other couples.
Yeah,
3.
6 people total.
Yeah, there weren't
in
very many.
And you could hear everybody just laughing and howling and in fact, when we got done, one of the guys was like, "Oh man, that was so funny, wasn't it?" And so we almost had a little like camaraderie of our little group of people that was in there. So yeah, this would be a great one to catch on Netflix or whatever you got.
Yeah, but definitely with friends. Share this experience because it's much more fun.
I think that would make this. I think that would elevate this movie.
Yeah.
Would to be a big group of people just laughing and having a good time at it.
Do you have anything else on this one? Because I'm out of stuff to say.
No, I'll save it for my
okay.
recommendation.
In that case, what's your streaming recommendation if you don't want to go to theaters?
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of sort of cheat, and I'm gonna do 2. But I'm not really gonna do 2.
The split decision.
So, kind of depends. This one was R-rated. And really, I mean, it had some, like, people getting shot and graphic violence and stuff.
Mostly it was for the language. There was a bit of harsh language.
But it wasn't really what Josh refers to as potty humor. There wasn't a whole lot of,
No, there wasn't.
I was kind of surprised at the R rating, but then, when you say, oh, well, yeah, there was some profanity and things like that.
I always drop my rating by 1 star just for potty humor. So.
See, and I have no problem with potty humor. So basically, I have 2 recommendations, and they kind of diverge. They both kind of tell. Well, anyway, so my first one is an old movie. I don't say old. It's from the 70s, I believe, or early 80s, called Midnight Madness. And Midnight Madness is this whole. A guy puts together a game. And he is the game master, and it's basically a scavenger hunt, but he gives them clues, and he gets a bunch of people from college, and they separate into different groups, and they go out and they, try to solve his clues. And again, it's one of those comedy of errors, things go wrong and stuff breaks down. And it's an older, much more lighthearted, kind of more family-friendly type of movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminiscent of old Disney movies and things, and I really liked it. It was a fun movie, but it is very dated. Like I said, it was very 70s. The clothing and stuff is just, it's very dated. For a more modern one, and this would really be if I had to pick one, this is going to be my recommendation, and it's The Hangover, which is another R-rated comedy from, I believe it's 2008 or 2009, and it's more towards the potty humor side of things. So this one's a little bit rougher than what Game Night would be.
Yeah.
But as far as the feel and the same general theme of a movie, it pretty much matches it closely. And Hangover, super popular, well done movie. A bunch of sequels that deteriorate fast in quality. But basically, it is 4 friends. One of them is getting married, and they go to Las Vegas for a bachelor party, and they're going to have a great time, woohoo, and they wake up in the morning, and they have no idea what happened, and the groom is missing. And they go try to retrace their steps and solve this mystery, kind of like our kidnapping mystery in Game Night. And they go out and try to figure out, okay, what's wrong, what happened to get here, and as they put it together, we get flashbacks and stuff, and the clues start to come together. And again, it's just this huge comedy of errors. They find out they've been drugged, and that's where it all went wrong. But again, it was a really funny movie, really well done. Lots of little cameos and people popping up, and just really funny little situations that happen. I would give The Hangover a higher rating than I would Game Night. I would recommend The Hangover over Game Night if you're okay with, like you said, more of the potty humor type stuff. To me, it was funny like it was, but there was more funny there. It was more of a constant barrage in The Hangover. So that would be my recommendation.
I am going back to 1997. Bill Murray, The Man Who Knew Too Little. Very funny movie. The gist of that one, Bill Murray is visiting his brother who lives in London, I think, England, I know. And the brother, of course, has this board meeting with some German executives, so he can't deal with his brother right then. And Bill Murray is kind of not really a black sheep of the family, but the unsuccessful brother that you love him, but you just don't have time for him right now. Got 2 of those in my family. Anyway, just kidding. I think I am that guy. The point is, so they need to get rid of him for a bit, and he's always kind of loved acting and stuff. He works at Blockbuster Video, back when we had Blockbuster Video. And they have this thing that was all the craze in England at the time, which was kind of a live, like a sort of a theater as you go thing. Basically, the person who is the subject buys this movie experience and he has no idea what's going on. So he has to ad-lib the whole thing. And then they've got actors and situations set up to lead him through this. And within the first 5 minutes of him taking on this thing, he actually gets a call from a hitman, an actual hitman, and goes to the wrong address. So he thinks the whole thing is this movie and it's all real, and he has no idea. And it just, hilarity ensues, as it should in a Bill Murray movie. And it is hilarious, it's funny, rated PG, so it's even more on the family-friendly side than is our, what we just talked about, but I forgot, game night. So, but that is all our time for today. So, thank you so much for watching Screen It or Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesday nights because that's when we go.